Morning, everyone. I'm Lebakang, a cyber insurance underwriter at IT Special Risks, a specialist underwriting management agency underwritten on the Holland Insurance License. It is my pleasure to introduce Candice Topreck, our underwriting lead in the cyber team. Candice brings over a decade of experience in cyber insurance and an intricate knowledge of cybercrime. She is a recognized voice in the industry, regularly appearing on platforms like ETV, ENCA, CNBC Africa, and Cliff Central, as well as contributing to publications including The Star, Cape Argus, The Citizen, FA News, Risk Essay, and Cosmopolitan Magazine. Today, she'll be taking you through our brand new, faster, easier, and smarter way to offer cyber insurance via our digital platform. As Luando has mentioned, kindly post your questions in the Q&A section and the cyber team will respond as we go. Please join me in welcoming Candice Topreck. Over to you, Candice.
Thank you so much, Lebo, and thank you to everybody on the call. I appreciate your time and thank you for joining us. I'm going to keep my camera off just because the slides are quite picture heavy. So I'll keep this off and start sharing the slides. Please do post your questions exactly like Lebo and Luando have said in the Q&A section, and I'll be happy to get to those. Either throughout the session, the cyber team will help me answer those questions, or we can chat about it right at the end. So the intention of today's session is to explain our brand new offering called DigiEase Cyber SME. This is a new business offering for SME companies who are domiciled in South Africa. So an SME is defined as a company that generates under 250 million Rand revenue. And you'll see as we progress and when we do the demo that certain industries are excluded regardless of their revenue size, and that would be for multiple reasons: accumulation risk, the industry is just too risky, etc. But we'll get to that when we do the demo. So let's talk about cybercrime in South Africa. We know that cybercrime is an issue, but how bad is it really? So South Africa has the highest global probability of a repeat data breach, meaning if you have been hacked once, chances are you will be hacked again. 83% of organizations had experienced more than one breach in the last 12 months. The average number of records breached was just over 22,000, and the average cost per lost or stolen record was 2,650 Rand. The average total cost of a data breach in South Africa cost 49.25 million Rand. And the average days it took to identify a breach was 235 days, and then to contain that breach was 88 days. So that means for 235 days, you, the insured, have absolutely no idea that a hack is actually sitting on the system. And once they actually launch their attack, it then takes you, on average, 88 days to contain that breach. So I'm not sure what industry could sustain absolutely zero trade or seeing any customers for an average of 88 days without that customer just moving on and going to somebody else. The most common initial attack vectors are stolen or compromised credentials, phishing, cloud misconfigurations, and vulnerabilities in third-party software. So what is the solution to all of that? It's a cyber insurance policy. But what is cyber insurance? So the policy has two triggers. Either one needs to occur in order for the policy to respond. Sometimes one trigger can cause the other trigger to also happen, but you don't need both in order to have cover. So the first trigger is a network breach. In the most basic terms, that's when somebody gets into your computer system or your network. It includes being hacked, such as unauthorized access or use, data being stolen, like client information or your intellectual property, viruses or malware, which is malicious software, overloading your system so that it crashes, that's called a denial of service attack, physical theft or loss of both devices or physical hard copy data, and causing harm to others by attacking them through your systems. That's called a downstream attack. The second trigger is a privacy breach. A privacy breach is a breach of your private or confidential information. This happens when that information is leaked, exposed, or misused, and it can involve personal data of your employees, your customers, your contractors, your suppliers, or anyone else. The policy also covers things like hacking, malware, which is the blanket definition for any malicious software, ransomware, extortion, business email compromise, web application or website attacks, as well as insider or privileged user misuse, that is by internal staff or service providers. Statistically, 80% of employees who leave their employer to go somewhere else will try and steal some form of intellectual property. In our industry, that would be client lists, wordings, rating guides, etc. And then they move to a competitor and try and target those clients. So what does the policy actually cover? We understand that there has to be a network breach or a privacy breach in order for the policy to respond. But what happens when one of those incidents occur? So if we look at the first module, that is your cyber liability. This provides cover if a third party, that's your client, customer, contractor, supplier, sues the insured organization because of a network breach or a privacy breach. Cover is provided for the defense and settlement of the third-party claim arising from your network breach, or the defense and settlement of your client's claim arising from your data being compromised. This module also covers the fines and penalties imposed by a government regulatory body due to an information privacy breach to the extent insurable by law. So that would be something like POPI, the Protection of Personal Information Act. That fine would be covered by a cyber policy to the extent insurable by law. If we look at the first party expenses, these are the expenses to deal with the cyber incident. So cover is provided for incident investigation costs to confirm what happened, how it happened, what data was affected, how much was lost, and how to fix and prevent future incidents. It also covers expenses for security specialists, such as lawyers, IT forensic investigators, and loss adjusters to contain and manage the incident, deal with regulators, and work with law enforcement. This module covers the cost to restore or recover your data, as well as the increased cost of working, such as renting equipment, hiring services, paying overtime, or using a temporary space following a breach. Our next module is crisis management and notifications expenses. This module covers the cost to respond to the network breach or privacy breach. So cover is provided for communication and public relations costs to mitigate the reputational damage following a breach. This is things like spokesperson training and social media monitoring. This module covers the cost to notify the affected parties and remediation services such as credit and identity theft monitoring to protect the affected parties from suffering further damages. The loss of business income module, this covers the reduction of income following a breach. So it is the loss of income the insured would have earned had the breach not occurred. It is also the normal operating and payroll expenses that are incurred and affected by a network breach. Our cyber extortion module, this covers the cost to respond to an extortion incident. So cover is provided for specialists to investigate and respond to a cyber extortion incident. Where recovery is not possible, the ransom demand may be settled. Moving on to digital media liability, this is the publication or broadcast by the insured of any digital media content, which includes any text, graphics, audio, and video content. Cover is provided for the defense and settlement of claims of defamation, such as damaging someone's reputation, accidental copyright or trademark infringement, like using an image or slogan or name without permission, or unintentional privacy breach, such as sharing private facts, using someone's name or photo without their consent. Our next module is theft of funds. This is the reimbursement for loss of money. So cover is provided for the unrecoverable loss of money belonging to or for which the insured is legally responsible as a direct result of a breach by a third party. It also covers money transferred after receiving a fraudulent instruction and following the proper verification process. Please note, any cryptocurrency loss is excluded. So what is the verification process? In the simplest terms, verification is a mandatory process that you must follow to confirm if a payment instruction is legitimate. It would be things like confirming using a different contact method. So if you received an email from someone to say that, please note, we have changed our bank account details, then it would be calling them on the phone to ensure that the bank details have in fact changed. It would be using things like the contact details on file or publicly verified information, not the ones that is in the letter you received. It would be verifying the bank account details using your bank's services or a stamped letter from the bank and confirm that the request comes from the expected verified communication, such as the correct email address. It wouldn't be Candice, spelled Candiice, at i2.co.za, which is a fake email account. Next, we look at physical damage. This module covers the material damage to tangible property. So cover is provided for the cost to replace or repair physical damage of tangible property which belongs to, is rented or leased or hired by the insured as a direct result of a system security incident. By way of example, a hacker turns off a water pump. That causes material damage, and because the causation was a hack, your general traditional policy would not respond because it would have a specific cyber exclusion. So only a cyber policy would respond. And then payment card industry. This module is for non-compliance with PCI DSS. So PCI DSS is the payment card industry data security standard. It is a set of security standards designed to ensure that all companies that accept, process, store, or transmit credit card information maintain a secure environment. So cover is provided for the direct monetary fine, penalties, assessments, chargebacks, reimbursements, and fraud recoveries, which you become legally obligated to pay in terms of a merchant services agreement as a direct result of a network breach. It also covers the reasonable costs to demonstrate your ability to prevent future breaches as required by your merchant services agreement. So if we look at i2Go, i2Go is our market SME offering. And with that offering, you had to complete a manual proposal form. There were some sublimited modules, and you would have to request and wait for a quote from someone in the cyber team. We have now upgraded this process with DigiEase Cyber, and this means no proposal forms, simplified questions, no sublimits, more modules, a 15% reduction on i2Go rates. Why? Because there's no underwriter involvement. We don't need to look at that. We don't need to analyze. Everything is done online. It's instant policy issuing. There isn't an underwriter that has to physically touch that request. And for that reason, we are able to offer a reduction on the stock standard i2Go rates. As it says, instant policy issuing. So when you go and talk to a client, they can buy cyber in a couple of minutes with you in the room or over the phone on a Teams meeting or completely by themselves. So let's look at the old versus the new. Our i2Go had multiple modules, all the modules that I've just gone over. And the loss of business income and cyber extortion modules was sub-limited to 50% of the total limits. Your theft of funds was 250,000 Rand, and your physical damage was also 250,000. If we look at the DigiEase Cyber SME offering, this now provides full limit on your loss of business income, full limit on cyber extortion, as a standard, R1 million theft of funds, R1 million physical damage, and it includes payment card industry for 250,000 Rand. And it's 15% less than the stock standard i2Go pricing. So this would be the pricing when you have to refer this to an underwriter. An underwriter has to physically look at this risk, load it, do a quote, process that, load the debit order, etc., send the quote back to the client, wait, the client being the broker, wait for that instruction and then issue, versus our DigiEase, which is 15% cheaper because an underwriter doesn't touch that. So I'd like to do a demo for you from start to finish so you can see how easy this process is. You should have, if you are onboarded for any DigiEase product, you should have received your single token URL from Veridith. If you don't have a token, we'll talk about what you need to do at the end of the session. But this applies to anyone who has already been onboarded for any digital offering by i2. So this is the site. This is a demo site. So it would have your logo, it would have your email address, it would have your phone number. This is just the demo site so that I can show you how it works. I have made a recording so that I can talk you through it. So this is the site. It's really sexy. You can click on products and go to Cyber SME to purchase the cyber policy, or if you scroll down, you can purchase it here. Once the screen loads, you can download a Learn More, that's some information, or click Buy Insurance. Once we start filling in this request, so the transaction type would be cyber, you choose your start date. You cannot backdate cover, so you can purchase cover from today and any day going forward, but you cannot purchase cover going back. If we look, I just want to go back 1 second. If we look at this list of operations, the nature of operations, anything that has a star or an asterisk next to the industry, we might need that to be a referral. I'll explain why. Chances are this is a much bigger accumulation risk in terms of number of records stored. So it wouldn't typically be your stock standard digital offering or your i2Go offering, but I'll explain how referrals work in a minute. So you select your industry. In this instance, I'm going to pretend that I'm a consulting industry. They are my revenue bands, so the premium is dictated by your revenue. In this instance, I'm saying my revenue is 0 to 10 million. And here are the questions. So the questions are simplified. So question number 1 reads, select the IT environment that is applicable to your business. So either there is a network of computers, you are solely in the cloud, or you are an individual. So let's say I am Candace's hairdresser. I operate from my property and I have a laptop that I bought from Macro. In that instance, I would be an individual. So there's no network and I'm not using the cloud. In this instance, I'm going to choose computer network. The second question is domiciled in South Africa. So because this offering is available to South African entities only, right now, the question says, Domiciled in South Africa refers to an individual or an entity that has established South Africa as their legal base for operations. The answer is a simple yes or no. If you say no to any of these questions, it will trigger a referral. Data records. Ooh. Sorry, I just skipped a little bit ahead there. So the data record says, do you collect, store, or process less than 100,000 financial records or bank records? Sorry, let me just get there. Payment cards or personally identifiable information, or less than 50,000 medical records annually. If your client is collecting, storing, or processing more than 100,000 financial bank payment cards or PII information, or more than 50,000 medical records, this will trigger a referral. I'll explain that process. So as long as the client can say yes to each of these questions, they'll be able to proceed. So you can see there how I'm saying less than, and the answer is yes. Next question. Do you currently ensure secure access by consistently using VPNs, strong passwords with at least 8 characters, multi-factor authentication, and account lockout after 10 failed login attempts? My answer for Candice's consulting would be yes. The next question is about firewalls. So do you have firewalls in place and retain key system activity logs? For example, firewall and Active Directory logs for at least 3 months. The answer would be yes, because if the client didn't have this in place, they wouldn't qualify for cover. So then they would have to implement and then apply for the insurance. In terms of internet security software, do you use paid antivirus or malware on all systems and apply important security patches or updates within 1 month of release? The next question is vendor-supported software. Are all software and applications actively maintained, regularly updated, and fully supported by the original developer or vendor? And then our last question is, do you oh my goodness, sorry about that. Do you backup data or replicate it to a separate location, such as a secure cloud or offline storage on a weekly basis? The answer would be yes. And now I put in my website address. So this I can do as a customer completely by myself, or I can do it with my broker sitting in the room with me. Now it brings up the options. So I can purchase 1 million, 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, or 15 million rand cover. This is based on the revenue that I declared on the previous page. It shows me the annual as well as the monthly premium. So let's say, actually, my revenue is not between 0 and 10 million rand. If I change that, let's say my revenue was 55 million rand. If I go to the next page, you'll see that the premiums have increased because the higher the revenue, the higher the business interruption losses, and therefore there is an increase in premium. So I'm going to go back and just change it to the first line, 0 to 10 million rand. So now my budget as a customer wanting to buy cyber insurance is 1,000 rand. I can see immediately, I don't have to wait for a quote. I don't have to fill in a proposal form because that's really boring. I can see immediately that for under budget, I can get 5 million rand cover. That will be 836 rand a month. But if I can go just a tiny bit over budget, I can get an additional 2.5 million rand cover, and my monthly premium would be 1,061 rand. So I'm going to rather go for that option because I had in my mind a budget of 1,000 rand a month. So I click that and I select Get Cover Now. This is where I fill in my details. So this is a demo site. You'll see I put in pretend information like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It wouldn't actually proceed if you didn't put in genuine information. So, but this is just for the demo. So this is Candace's Consulting. We're putting in the registration number. Next will be VAT number, and then my address. So super quick and easy to fill in. If you wanted to get a quote for your client, then you could fill in this information for them, and you can, using this platform, generate a quote without having to refer it to an underwriter. You can get a quote online. So we fill in all of the information, the title of the policy holder. So here I put in all of my information, my cell phone number, etc. And I need to put in the genuine email address because that's where my policy doc is going to go. I click next, super quick, super easy. And now we have the overview. So this is a summary of all the information that I put in. So I'm still happy that I want to go with the 1,061 Rand a month offer. There's all the questions. And now I can say email quote. So I might not be 100% ready to make a decision, or I want to show my business partner or my insurance brokers doing this for me. By pushing email quote, it will send that email off with a quote for what we've looked at. So I push email quote and you'll see it pops up in my screen in a few seconds. It's actually really quick. Now I can decide, do I want to stop here, save and exit, or do I want to proceed to purchase the policy? So I'm happy to make this decision as the business owner that I want the cover. I don't want to wait for a quote. So this is when, because it's monthly, I'll fill in my debit order. So I selected that this policy should incept on the 1st of September. So my first collection will be a full month's premium. This explains when the policy will start, when the deductions will happen, which is the 1st of every month. I complete all of these, the privacy policy, the payment declaration. I say that I'm not a robot, stock standard that you would do on any site where you make a purchase. And then I say pay now. Super quick, super easy. So when I get to this screen, it will say, do not close or refresh. I put in my business, my personal, doesn't matter, my bank account details. So the name of the company, the account number, type, etc., etc. And then I push submit, and the policy is issued as quick and as easy as that. Can you believe? So here we'll see how quick it is. There's my quote request that came through. I'll show you what that looks like. But this is me actually proceeding past the quote and purchasing the policy. So it's really quick, really easy. You'll see now it'll say transaction successful. And that is it. I have cyber insurance effective 1 September. Here is all of my information. So the limit that I chose, the start date, the policy holder information, etc., etc. You'll see at the bottom, you can download policy details, or you can go back to the home page. By clicking download policy details, I'll show you what that looks like. So it would have your logo, it would have your brokerage. It's not going to say I2 testing broker. It has all of the client's information. When you do bind a policy, it does include a record of advice. So you don't have to worry to actually download this, but it is nice to keep it on file if you would like to. So we'll minimize that. And that is it. Super simple, super easy. Okay, so if I minimize this, let me just pause that for 1 second, sorry. Okay, if we have a quote, a referral, and bind, these are the options that we have. So here is my quote request. Okay, Here it has the quote schedule. So this is for somebody who's not ready to proceed to bind cover, or they want to discuss it with a business partner, or the broker has completed this on the client's behalf. So here is my quote request. It's for Candace's Consulting. It has all of my information. It's got my broker details, so your information will populate there. It tells me all the cover. So I wanted 7.5 million rand. You can see that the modules are not sublimited. I'm getting R1 million theft of funds, R1 million physical damage and payment card industry. The only deductible is applicable to the cyber extortion module, and then the loss of business income is a 12-hour deductible. So there's my quote request. In this email, to continue, all I would have to do is click that link. It will take me back to the portal where I can continue the process and purchase the policy. So let's say I needed to discuss this with my business partner. I've now done that. I'm ready to go buy the policy. I've thought about it. There's the link to take me back quick and easy. I don't have to start the whole process all over again. Super simple. Let's say that I bought a policy. So here is my email saying, sorry, that's quote request, that I have bought the policy. Let me just open it here because it's telling me it can't. There we go. So here is my schedule. There's all my cover. There's my limits, everything good. There is all the information that applies. So the 2025 wording, how I claim, who I need to contact, the territorial limits, stock standard, privacy, the privacy of your personal information endorsement, etc., etc. Here is my wording. And then there's also a record of advice. So depending on who my broker is, the client who completed the request would receive this email. You, the broker, so whoever's instance they went on to purchase the policy, that broker would also receive the policy. So you as the broker would be able to see how many has been bought. As I mentioned, there is a record of advice. So here are all the questions that I answered, and you can keep that on file as your record of advice. So let's say I answered one of the questions. Let's say it was my industry, or wasn't able to answer yes to one of the questions, then that would trigger a referral. So a referral goes to the cyber team. And then once we've had a chance to clear that referral, here it is. Sorry about that. So this is the email that the client would get. We have received your submission for a quote, but we need to review some of the answers. Your broker will contact you. Then the cyber team will send you an email and say, we've received this request. The client has said no to blah, blah question. Please, can you clarify? Based on that additional clarification that we've asked for, we would either then be able to proceed, or we would have to look at doing a full proposal form to analyze and quantify the increased exposure of this specific client. But very seldom does a referral happen unless the client cannot answer yes. That is how quick and easy it is. So you can do a quote. If it triggers a referral, that goes to the cyber team, where we will ask the broker questions to clarify and then proceed, or you can bind. So I want more. We hear you, brokers. More, 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 and we are happy to give you more. So what about personal cyber? You've just offered company cyber to your client, or any digital product for that matter. Why not talk to them about personal cyber insurance? So instead of going to the cyber SME on your portal over here, or any other digital product, you go here to personal cyber. It would then open up the My Solution product offering, which is a personal cyber insurance policy. And what that policy does is that it covers theft of funds, where we cover as a result of a cyber incident or hacking of your bank account, payment cards or mobile wallet, any funds stolen from you. It covers identity theft. And this is for you as an individual, not your business. You've already bought cyber insurance. This is for you as an individual. This covers everything from reporting the theft and credit monitoring to reimbursing lost wages, refiling rejected applications, or notarizing affidavits, as well as the cost of a new ID document. It covers the cost to restore your personal systems and data following a cyber incident. So that is if your personal device is intercepted. We cover cyberbullying and cyber stalking, which is removing the online content about you or your child, any lost wages, trauma counseling, and school relocation costs. We cover cyber extortion, which is where we reimburse you the ransom paid, allowing you to resolve the extortion incident quickly and efficiently. Online sales and shopping, where we compensate your financial loss for personal items or services ordered online that don't arrive. Express kidnapping, we reimburse you the value of funds or property surrendered in exchange for your release, as well as liability modules. So this is where we assist with your legal defense costs and cover the settlement award because your personally owned device was either hacked or exposed the data of somebody else. Our last module is privacy and data breach by a third party. This is where we reimburse your legal defense costs because a company that stores your information was hacked. If we look at the packages, you can buy standalone theft of funds cover. So Mega is your first time income earner young individual policy, right up to EXA, which is your more affluent sort of client. The theft of funds standalone policy, which you'll see on the portal, covers only the first line, only the theft of funds. Full My Solution is a fully comprehensive cyber insurance policy, and you can see what each package covers on the screen as well as the limits. Those monthly premiums, Mega is R22.50. You can see the premiums on the screen. You can add your partner or 3 children. So we didn't say spouse in the wording because some people don't want to get married, and that's entirely fine. So a partner is someone you have been living with for a period of longer than 12 months. And a child is defined as any dependent person. So it can be a niece, nephew, grandchild, adopted child, etc., under the age of 18. So you can see the premium. So if you were purchasing a mega policy, you would pay 25 Rand for you and your partner, or you and a maximum of 3 children. If you wanted to include your partner and 3 children, that is the last line that you can see on the screen. So you've spoken to your client about cyber insurance. Let's say that you are presenting to an association, the Hairdressers Association of South Africa. They would like to buy cyber insurance, and you've helped them buy that policy. You can offer additional policies like a sure thing policy or an events policy or a My Solution policy for the members of that organization. If you are talking to a client about directors and officers cover, offer them My Solution, which would cover the directors in their individual capacities as well as their families for any personal cyber incidents. This can be extended to the entire staff. So all you would do is, once you've written Hairdressers Association of South Africa, is provide them with your bespoke token, which is the link that you would offer these digital products on. Your link means it connects to your token, your broker code, which means you get the commission. All you have to do is share that link with your customers. So by having one token for all, the client can go on, even though you've spoken to them about hole-in-one cover and say, oh, here's cyber, let me find out about that. Even if you didn't discuss it with them, you should. But sometimes if you're having a meeting on a specific topic, you don't want to bring in other covers. But the client would be able to see that on your portal. Or you can speak to them hypothetically about my solution and then say, but you run a business, so you should have a company cyber policy. Let's look at what that premium is going to cost. And the quote would be available. Super quick, super simple. So what are the next steps for you as a broker? Number one, if you have a token, start selling. It's available and you can use it starting right now and today. If you need a token, then please can you get in touch with Veredith? She is our digital guru, and we can say thank you to her for how sexy and easy the site is. So a big thank you to Veredith. And if you need anything else, you can speak to anyone in the cyber team or the sales team to assist you. If you need marketing material, we're happy to help you with that. You can then put your own colors, your own branding, etc. All you need is your token. So this is definitely the new way to sell business. You can close business while not even being present, not even being in the room. All you have to do as the broker is share your link to the portal with your clients. You could post it. Let's say you wanted to target individuals for Black Friday. By just sharing your token, whoever clicks on that link would be able to see all of our digital offerings. And then, that sparks the interest. Oh, this actually does apply to me. I heard somebody once talking about it at a braai, how they got hacked. Maybe I should buy cyber insurance. And you can generate leads and sales with complete strangers, not having to actually spend any time with them at all. So we are in love with the digital offerings. It's going to make writing cyber a historically complicated, difficult process. It's going to make it much, 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 much simpler. So please do embrace. If you need help or you have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to us. You can see my details are on the screen. But you're welcome to reach anyone in the cyber team, and we would all be able to help. I'm going to start presenting and turn over to questions. I'm not sure if any questions have been asked just yet, but I would be happy to take those. So Luando, if I can hand over to you, please.
Hi, Candice. Thanks a lot for that very informative presentation. There was a lot of activity in the chat or in the Q&A, most of which I've answered, but I think there's some that we would do well to answer live as well, as in case people didn't see the response. I will start with the latest questions from Derek. This is directly linked to the My Solution product. He asked that what did they do if there were more than 3 children? So I think the limitation was 3 children. How do we cover the others that might be there? So they've got 5 children. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So we actually do have a client who has 6 children. What a blessing. I suppose it depends how you look at it. So in that instance, she bought a policy for herself and 3 children, and her husband bought a policy for himself and 3 children. So if we go back, I'm not sure if it's sharing on the screen.
I'll put it on the screen now. Go for it.
There we go. So she bought a PETA policy. So for 195 Rand, it covered herself plus 3 children. And her husband bought a policy for himself and the other 3 children, which was also 195 Rand. So let's say that I have a My Solution policy, and that policy incepts on the 1st of September. And in April next year, my oldest child is going to be over 18. In that instance, I would have my PETA policy. It covers myself, my partner, 3 children. I'm paying 215 Rand a month. I can either purchase a policy for my child. So let's say we'd want to look at maybe a giga policy. That would then be the individual pricing, so 75 Rand a month. Or I can say to my child, you working now, you must pay for your own policy. And then they would want to purchase maybe a mega because it's 22 Rand 50. So from a broker and an IT perspective, it's irrelevant to us who pays the premium. But if your child reaches age 18, or they are not living in South Africa, let's say they move overseas to go study, then they wouldn't qualify for cover. So just like the DigiEase offering, this is for companies domiciled in South Africa. My solution is for South Africans, people who live in South Africa. Sorry, not South Africans, individuals who reside in South Africa. So I can purchase a policy on behalf of my child, but if it was a situation where I had 4 children, then what would make the most sense is I would buy a policy for myself plus 3 children. My husband would buy a policy for himself plus 3 children.
And if you don't have a partner, Candice, and you've got 4 kids, how do we manage that?
So because it's not on a named basis, as long as all 4 children aren't victims at the exact same time in the exact same incident, we should be fine, because my policy would say for Candice Toprick plus 3 children. It doesn't say for A, B, and C. It doesn't have their names. So I could cover 1 child, and because it's not on a named basis. But ideally, the policy cap is 1 person if you're buying for an individual, 1 plus a partner, or 1 plus 3 children, so maximum 4, and at the biggest it's 5, a maximum of 5. So we don't want to complicate things when it comes to claim stage, having to then justify, oh, but I have 6 children or 7 children, so I only bought 1.5 policies, whatever. Let's not complicate it.
Awesome. So going back to the SME, the I2Go, there was a question earlier on asking, does the digital offering replace the existing CyberGo offering?
And 100% no, it does not. So I2Go will still exist in its entirety. The difference is you have to have a proposal form completed. You have to submit that to the cyber team to either do a quote or to incept that policy. So the turnaround time is much longer than just doing it online. But we are not deleting, we are not removing, we are not killing I2Go. It still exists, and I2Go policies will renew on I2Go, so that is not going to change. That whole process won't change. This is just an improved offering that is quicker, easier, more comprehensive cover, more modules, higher limits, and lower premium, purely because an underwriter doesn't have to touch this.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think the big takeaway here, guys, is the time to quote. Time to market, time to bind is a lot faster. It's at your fingertips. So, use it if you're in a pinch. But we're still here to assist you if you do prefer, for whatever reason, to utilize the current old method. There was another question around payments. I think when your example, Candice, you used a monthly payment option. The question was, can the clients also pay annually? And can that also be via EFT?
Yes, so we do have monthly, which is debit order, and that's when we would collect, because the client has to put in their bank account details, their credit card, in order to complete that transaction. They can also pay annually, and then there is an invoice option. So that is when we would invoice the client, or you, the broker, would invoice the client to make payment. Any further questions?
Sorry, I think my network just dropped there. There's a question from Zelda.
Oh, sorry.
She's asking if the product's available in Namibia. I assume you're talking about the commercial cyber. The commercial cyber on digital is not currently available, as Candice has mentioned, outside of South Africa. It is only a SA offering on the DigiEase platform. We will be looking to expand that over time as we get comfortable with utilizing the portal and making sure that it fits, it's fit for purpose for each region. However, there is an I2Go for SMEs built for the the Namibian market as well as the Botswanan market. So if you are in those two countries and you're listening in, you can utilize that. Please reach out to the Hollard team on country or speak to us via the I2 team, and we will facilitate that for you. There's a question here, Candice. Could you clarify the compliance implications of sharing your token and policies written on your behalf?
If I may hand over to Veredith for that question, because she is quite a fay. Veredith, if you're happy to answer. So it's quite important that when you get your token that you don't give that to other people. When there is a brokerage, let's say we work for Lawando's insurance brokers, there's Veredith, Candice, and Lawando. Each one of us would have our own bespoke token under the name of Lawando's insurance brokers so that we can track sales. But let me hand over to Veredith before I go off on a tangent.
Hi, everybody. So every single broker consultant in an agency gets a unique URL. And that unique URL is how the system knows to only email a copy of the application and the notification to the broker as well. So let's, for example, say Candice, I, and Lawando work for Orange Brokers, and my token is number 1, Candice is 2, and Lawando is 3. If Lawando sends an applicant his link after he's had a conversation about the type of cover and basically an assisted sale conversation with the client, and the client says, yes, I'm interested, Lawando will then send his link to the client and say, click on this link, click on the buy insurance button, and complete the information, select your price option, complete your company details, and then click on generate the quote. It's those 4 easy steps. From a compliance point of view, the application that we are using sits in our environment as I2. We just expose it as if it's the broker's application. So we've actually built a platform for our brokers, and a whole due diligence process happened around the technology and was done by Hollard more than 4 years ago. So from that point of view, nobody else, no other broker has access to your data, can't see your data, can't see who you've sent the clients to. It only belongs to you. I hope that makes sense, and I've answered the question.
Fantastic. Thanks, Veredith. Question from Adam. Will the existing Artigo clients also be or automatically be increased to the new higher limits? If I may answer that one, Candice. So for all current Artigo clients, at renewal, we will be quoting on the updated structure. Should you wish to do a midterm adjustment, you can let us know. We're happy to do that. However, the ratings will remain as per the current paper-based Artigo and not the digital. The digital, as mentioned, is only for new business, and the benefit there is that there is no underwriter involved, and that's why we're able to give you those savings, or give the client those savings when it comes to the premiums that are quoted on the digital platform. I think there's some more. Who will control the access when a broker leaves a certain brokerage? What happens to those tokens and those links? Maybe Veredith, you have some insight onto that one.
Sorry, Lawando, you broke up there for a moment.
Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, I can.
So the question is, who will control the access when a broker leaves a certain brokerage? So if I created a token for Lwando and Lwando's brokers and I leave, what happens to that token?
A request is put through to me, and we simply disable the link from the back-end platform. And if that broker then moves to, say, Yellow Brokers, then that broker can contact us again, and we will give them a link associated with their email address at Yellow Brokers and the FSP details there.
Cool. Not sure if I've missed any questions. there was a question for clarity on some content around firewalls and network access from Zunaid. Zunaid will send you a note on that. Not a problem. Let's see.
I think if you can clarify the theft of funds question, Wando.
Which one is that one?
From Amanda, do you see it?
Oh,
Can you
okay.
read us the question?
So Amanda's asking, if bank details are confirmed and double-checked telephonically, and the client pays for products, then the product never arrives because it was a bogus company. Will IT consider adding this cover in future, as there is another company providing the cover as a sub-limit? Amanda, I'm happy to engage in you on that. So I think I did answer you in the chat earlier on. So the premise around the trigger the policy is that there has to be some sort of network breach somewhere. This scenario doesn't talk to that at all. So it talks to you basically engaging in business with someone who's a fraudster. You know, that you've obviously verified real details, but for fraudulent business. And therefore, once you've paid, you realize that actually you were dealing with someone who wasn't truthful in what they were offering, and that is where you've lost the goods and also lost the revenue, I guess, in this case. The way our policy is currently structured does not cater for those scenarios, as we believe those are more business risks and not necessarily a cyber-related incident, and that is why it is not part of the policy. However, I'm happy to engage in you and see what the other provider is offering from a language perspective, and we'll see if that's something that we can consider as part of our offering. But for the moment, that is not something that we would cover. We do, however, cover the scenario where you are dealing with a legitimate supplier or customer or anyone else. They are sending you email correspondence, and that email is intercepted, which will then trigger the policy for network compromise, and those details are then altered, and you pay on the back of that fraudulent invoice. That is the intention of our theft of funds coverage. And the second scenario is where your own infrastructure, your business has been compromised. For example, I got into your financial system and I changed some details before you made payments to the third parties. We'd also cover you for that scenario. So there is quite a lot of coverage already afforded. However, the other one, we're dealing with a bogus company that is unfortunately a business risk and currently not covered by I2. Great, we've reached the top of the hour. Candice, I'd like to say thank you to you.
Thank you.
Very informative. I think the engagement in the chat really tells that there's a lot of interest in this topic. In the digital platform, Veridith, you are the key driver on our digital business as I2. We will be coming around and visiting some of our brokers in the near future. So if you do want us to come and sit with you to run you through some more of the platform, more of what we can do, please just pop us an email. You've got Veridith's email on screen. You've got Candice's email as well. I can drop mine as well in the chat, but reach out to I2 as a whole. We'll set up some sessions with you and your team if you're in the Joburg area, or if you're in the Durban area, we'll set up sessions with, if you're in the Durban Cape Town area, we'll set up sessions with the local sales team that is on the ground, who's also very well up to date with the product. So please reach out to anyone that you know, and we will make our best attempts to try and see you over the next coming weeks and months. With that said, I'd like to thank all our brokers for joining us this Cyber Thursday. There'll be more to come as we go into the next months. Look forward to some more content from us, and we wish you well and good luck on your digital journey. Thanks again, and farewell.
Bye, everyone.